po.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay naman sound ko. Okay, I don't have to shout, no? Okay. So our topic is very close to our hearts. Job evaluation, salary structure design. Basically, this is a program that tells us how do we determine salaries for people. In fact, we would usually have a question from our employees. How are you able to determine my salary? So there is always a misconception that the salary that we get is dependent on only ability, our ability, um, only our competencies. But it's more than that. I think for those of you who are familiar with job evaluation salary structure design, you know that that's not the only one. But this this overview will probably give you an idea how to respond to questions of even managers. Sometimes managers that don't really know how we're able to determine salaries. Okay, so with that as an intro, I was going to ask, but then there's no way I'll find out. No, how many in this group are overpaid?
Wala yatang
wala
sasagot
bang
dyan, Sir
wala
Rafi.
bang wala bang sumagot? Kailangan may sasagot. Okay, how many are overpaid?
Oh, yung overpaid dyan, mag-start ng me.
Okay, anyway, di bale. It's all right.
Si Sir
How
John,
many?
nasagot natin Sir John, overpaid siya.
Sige, okay, good. At least we have one honest guy. This is very normal. So, what about if I ask the question, how many of us are underpaid? Okay, so I suppose 90% or 95% of you feel that way, correct? Anyway, okay, so basically with this program, hopefully after you see what it's all about, you'll find out whether you're overpaid or underpaid. Okay, and that's exactly very important for a manager or a supervisor who is has to answer questions like why is my pay like this only compared to Sunny's pay? Sunny's getting a high salary. I'm doing more work than him. Things like those. Okay, let's begin. Where do we start? We start with the major components of salary administration. So I'd like to focus on three items here. Effective salary administration um, has three important components. The first component is what is the internal job value, or what's the value of the job within the organization. Okay, that's internal job value. And this internal job value is determined by a management tool called job evaluation. Okay, so that's the first very important element, especially if you have more than 10 employees. If you have 100 employees, 1,000 employees, you need to have a job evaluation program. Okay. Secondly, external job value. Okay, what's the management tool for external job value? The management tool is called salary survey, and from this salary survey, you'll be able to design a salary structure. Okay, so how do you? So what's the reason for that? The reason you have conduct a salary survey, you yourself would like to know what other companies are paying, how much other companies are paying for similar jobs. Okay, that's the second element. The third element is called pay for performance. I think that that is something exciting for you, right? Pay for performance. Everybody believes anyway that if you are paid highly because of your good performance, and that's okay. That's not a problem. So pay for performance. What management tool do we use? Then we use performance appraisal. So you will notice now that there has been a misnomer before about pay for performance, and I'm sorry, about performance appraisal and job evaluation, because oftentimes performance appraisal is called performance evaluation. Okay. Next, please. I don't have. I don't have screen. Sunny, are you? Okay, sorry. The objectives of job evaluation are the following: to measure the value of jobs within the company. Okay, so oftentimes we'll have to answer the question, why is it that my work is more difficult than the other person, and so on. So if we have job evaluation, we'll be able to measure the jobs within the company. Now, the challenge is, how do we measure jobs? That will come later. The other purpose of this whole program is to attract and retain highly motivated and well-qualified employees. You agree? So those are the two objectives that encompasses the whole program, both job evaluation and salary structure design. Next, please. Okay, so let's get into the definition of job evaluation. So job evaluation is a systematic process of measuring the relative value of jobs within the organization for the purpose of administering compensation in a rational way. So your job evaluation should be systematic, simple, easy to explain, and objective. Okay, so job evaluation, that's the definition. On the other hand, we have performance appraisal. So job evaluation deals with the job, not the person, not the output of the person. Performance appraisal, on the other hand, is an objective process of measuring the performance, quantity, and quality of output of an employee for the purpose of motivation and performance improvement, and reward. Excuse me. Okay. So I'll just adjust something. Let me see, where's that? I'm trying to okay. Okay, that's better. All right. So that's the performance appraisal. Okay. And then let me see.
Time out, Sir Rafi.
Okay, sure.
Sa mga hindi nakakakita o nawawala yung presentation ni Sir Rafi, first suggestion is for you to log out and then rejoin. It is likely, pagka blue lang ang nakikita ninyo, it's likely a connection issue. Now, if it is not an internet connection issue, hanapin ninyo yung account ni Ara. Ara, what is your account name na nagrepresent? And then, i-pin ninyo para hindi mawala. Okay, so, Ara, what is your account name na nagrepresent?
Ako si Ara, sir.
Okay, hanapin niyo ako si Ara, tapos i-pin para hindi siya mawala. Okay, so yun yung two options. If walang sound o kaya blue screen lang, log out and then log in. Ngayon kung hindi nyo lang makita pero everything is okay sa screen and sa sound, hanapin niyo ako si Ara tapos i-pin para hindi mawala yung presentation. Alright? I'm sorry, Sir Rafi.
No, that's fine. In fact, mabuti yun para we will make sure that everybody gets the correct information. All right. Then next slide, please. Oh, by the way, as I go along, if you have some questions, might shall take note so that at the end of the presentation, you won't forget to ask me those questions. I'm sure marami kayong tanong. No? Now, the challenge in job evaluation is, how can you come up with a certain program that will ensure fairness and objectivity in the rating process? Now, just for your information, there are many types of or methods of job evaluation. The simplest method is called the ranking method. And then there are also more sophisticated programs like the Hayes system. But in the A system, you cannot use it because it's not a generic type of program. You have to buy the program from the owners of the A system. And then there is what we use is the sort of a generic program. We call this we call this the point rating system. Under the point rating system, which I will show later, it is easier, it is simple, easier to explain. Okay, so when I present this program to a board of directors or top management of the company before we proceed with the program, these are the slides that I present to them, so they have an idea of what we're going to do. So, ensuring fairness and objectivity in the rating process, the first thing is to select the factors that are important to your company. Okay, let me emphasize that in job evaluation, we don't rate the person. We rate the job that they're doing. Okay, and so when we talk of job factors, we don't talk of the traits of the person. We talk of what are the important things about the job that can be useful in differentiating one job from another. I'll give you an example. Would you have, for instance, if you use education as a job factor, this job requires a college degree, another job requires a master's degree maybe, or an engineering degree. This job it can be done by a high school graduate. Okay, so that's a job factor. The job factor called education is a measure to find out whether that particular job is on the higher hierarchy or lesser hierarchy by using the factor of education. The other factors that we'll be mentioning to you, the other factors. So we just wanted to give you an idea that by using those job factors, we have a common measurement. We have a way to measure the jobs. So we're able to measure where the difference between a clerk and a supervisor and a manager and all of that, all positions in the company. No matter what type of positions, they would be rated on the basis of the selected job factors. Now, there are job factors that are important to the company. For instance, analysis and problem solving. So all jobs require analysis and problem solving, but there are jobs that have a higher level of analysis that is required. That's an example of job factor. The second thing that you can do to ensure objectivity in the rating process, you have to appoint a job evaluation committee. A job evaluation committee composed mostly of maybe department heads who will be responsible for rating all the jobs. Okay. And they are some people would ask me, who should we appoint as members of the job evaluation committee? Because without a job evaluation, what the tendency is, people in certain departments would, let's say I'm the manager for HR, okay? So there's a tendency for me to give more points to my people. So the marketing guy will do the same thing, and so on. So there seems to be a problem with that, because here the members of the committee are informed that they are not representing their departments. They are representing the company. Okay, so the idea is to be able to rate all the jobs and by different people. Okay, so everybody, the advantage of having a job evaluation committee, and if they go through the process, it becomes a situation where even a marketing person would be able to understand what accounting is doing. Okay. Okay. The third item here would be the use of a point rating system. I mentioned earlier with you that this is a simple simple method that we can use. And the fourth one is self-serving because that's for me, no? or any other consultant. Use a third party or consultant. And I've been in HR for over 50 years, and there was a time when I thought I could do the job evaluation myself when I was the HR manager for a certain company. I knew how to do it, but it doesn't work with if it's done internally. There will be a lot of problems internally. So I would not recommend that. So use a third party or a consultant. Okay, so you'd have a committee that will ensure that when the jobs are rated, they know that they know the jobs that are being rated. The consultant, on the other hand, would guide the committee in all through the process. Okay. Do we allow questions in the meantime? Baka naman pwede. Sunny?
Not kindly check kung may questions tayo sa chat, and if any of you people may mga questions, feel free to unmute your mic and
Ganun. Pwede naman. Pwede naman. Just in case na merong dyan para, so, wait, I don't get a little bit, baka sabi ko, baka they're already asleep, so we have to check. Okay. Next, please.
Wala pa naman question
Yeah,
po.
go ahead. My question. Yes, who is this?
Wala
Name?
pa naman pong question sa chat box, Sir Rafi.
Wala pa. Okay. All right. So let's go now to the next slide. Then what are the typical job factors that we use? And what are the typical job factors? So can you imagine if you're going to do a job evaluation, you're going to rate jobs in, maybe if you have production, you'll have production jobs, you will have sales jobs, you might have marketing jobs, you'll have HR jobs, accounting jobs, finance, logistics, and so on and so forth. No, you've got a variety of jobs that have to be rated. Okay. So the factors that we use are, okay, relevant work experience. Okay, how do we rate relevant work experience? Since we're looking at the job and not the person, the alternative there is we look at the minimum relevant work experience required by that particular job. So maybe there's a job that doesn't require any experience. Okay, so there's a job that doesn't require any experience. There's a job that requires 6 months experience, 1 year experience, 2 years, and so on and so forth. And usually the more difficult jobs or the jobs that require longer experience would have greater value to the organization. Then we have education. I think I already gave an example of that one. The next one would be accountability. In this case, accountability is also synonymous to responsibility. So you are everybody's accountable for certain things, and the committee will have to decide whether this particular job has more accountability than other jobs. Okay. The next factor would be your ability to deal with other people. It's very important for us in HR, no? Human relations skills. The best example I can give here is you would like to give more points to the frontliners. For instance, if you're a marketing sales company, or you're even at the bank, you'd like your people who are facing the customers probably so they'll have some points for that, and that's what's called human relation skills. So if you have a job that requires negotiations, while other jobs don't require negotiations, so that's part of human relation skills. Okay, or if you are like a supervisor who has to deal with labor problems, well, that requires a lot of human relation skills. Okay. The next factor is analysis and decision making. Basically, it's analysis, or in the olden job evaluations, maybe 20 or 30 years ago, they used to call this mental ability. This used to be called mental ability versus physical ability. So analysis and problem solving or decision making is another factor. So some jobs are routinary; they don't require any analysis. Okay, so jobs that require more analysis would have higher points. And then, of course, we have to give also credit to those who are blue-collar workers, maybe, or workers who work uh, in hazardous jobs. Okay, so we have working conditions, and there are two components in the working conditions. The first component is hazards, meaning the risk to their life. Okay, while the second part could be maybe there are no hazards, but it's a physical job that requires really um, maybe standing up the whole day or maybe carrying heavy loads. Okay, all right. So those are the working conditions. We you now usually the blue collar workers would get slightly higher points here than the office worker. And as I said, you can deviate from this job factors. It just so happened that during the past 20 years or so, this could cover a lot of areas. So these are the factors that I would suggest for you. Supervision, on the other hand, is not checking on the the the, um, the supervisor's ability, but it can consider the number of people being supervised. We would assume that if you had 5 direct subordinates versus one who has only one subordinate, you should have probably a better number of points than that other one. Okay, so it also means that not all supervisors might end up in the same job grade. Okay, all right. I'll pause for a while and give you time to ask questions if you have any. Maybe the question I will raise to you and you might want to try to answer. What factor you think was missed from this one, from this listing? Okay, so I guess everybody's clear. Okay, let's move to the next slide.
Sir Rafi, may question po.
Okay, sige, go ahead.
The question is coming from John Robert James. I have
Okay,
question.
John.
Apa. Kung sa micro business, yung owner lang po ba ang mag-evaluate?
Okay. Very good question. Well, kung micro, like let's say you're talking of 10 employees or 10 jobs, you don't need a full-blown job evaluation because what would happen there is you can use the ranking method. The ranking method is so simple where you know very well that the supervisor is higher than the highest clerk, something like that. No, so there will be no need for the use of the job factors. So the owner of the company can decide what jobs are more important than others. Okay. What I guess I missed out was in job evaluation. I might well give you the end result. At the end of the job evaluation, even if you have a total of, let's say, 100 employees, you will be able to classify them according to job grade, meaning to say the values of those jobs in a particular job grade are similar to the others regardless of the department. So what we're saying is the end result is what you call job classification. All the jobs in the company in different departments will be classified under job grade 1, job grade 2, and so on, upward. Okay. Usually I use job grade 1 as the lowest job, and then job grade 6 or 7 as the supervisory jobs. So that's the purpose of job evaluation. Instead of administering 100 jobs in terms of salary administration, you only administer 6 or 7 job grades. Okay, then we will come to that later on when we come to the salary structure. Okay, next please.
Next slide po or next question?
Next, pwede rin next question kung meron. Okay, next question kung meron pa.
Sorry po, Sir Rafi. Miss Rizalina, can you please unmute your mic?
Sa akin? O,
Si
akin, Miss Rizalina. Sige, sige. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. Yes. Sir, I just want to ask, kasi you mentioned about performance appraisal. So, what if, for example, our performance appraisal is not using what do you call this, the point rating or any of this, but more on establishing the key result areas. Based on the key result areas, wherein binibigyan lang namin ng percentage. So, for example, recruitment, 20%. So, paano po yun when it comes to accomplishing the performance appraisal?
Okay. This particular program does not, kasi alam mo, malaking program yung performance appraisal. So, ito, all we did was we wanted to show you the relationship between job evaluation and salary design, and job evaluation and performance appraisal. So, we're not going to handle questions on performance appraisal.
So, thank you, sir.
Okay. The reason why we mentioned performance appraisal, so that we can simply remove from our mind that we are rating the person, we are rating the job. But your question is good. I hope we will have another session where I can answer your question. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for your question, Rizalina. More questions?
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
A quick question po, Sir Rafi. Is the job factor also the same as KPIs?
Okay. The answer is no. KPI refers to performance areas, and KPI stands for Key Result Indicators. I'm sorry, Key Performance Indicator. I'm sorry, that's not KRA. KPI is Key Performance Indicators. That's not the same as the job factor.
Thank you po, Sir Rafi.
You're welcome.
Maybe we can proceed for further questions po later para po.
Sige. Okay. We'll proceed, So, okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is anong basis or what would be the measuring device. Ayan, I'm sorry, not the basis. You have to have a measuring device in job evaluation. The measuring device is called job rating plan. So, job rating plan is like a ruler, no? Like a measuring tape, okay? The measuring device used to rate jobs is a job rating plan. It defines, so what are the parts of the job rating plan? It defines the individual job factors and their corresponding degrees. Now, in the development of the job rating plan, the job evaluation committee will be involved with the assistance of the consultant. They will develop the measuring device. As you are probably aware, it is important that the measuring device will be customized for your company. You cannot use a job rating plan that's applicable for all. Otherwise, you'll be missing out on certain things. I'll give you an example. The first part of the rating plan is choosing the factors. Then all of those factors are assigned particular weights, which would total 100%. Okay, so we're not yet talking of the jobs, we're talking of the rating plan. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at those factors that are important. for all jobs. Okay, so um, the I think you'll agree with me. Accountability would be one of the major factors. So they cannot have the same percentage weight as working conditions. Just to give you a very clear example. So management, well, the job evaluation committee will develop the rating plan, including the weights for each factor. But of course, all of this is subject to higher management approval. Okay, so the once the committee has agreed that the weights are okay for the total, then the president or the higher management will approve it before it is used for measuring the value of all the jobs. Okay. More questions?
Sir, meron po. Sorry, isa lang
Yeah.
po, sir.
Go ahead.
From Sir Alan Radok, what are the criterias in choosing job evaluation committee? Also,
Okay. Go
what are
ahead.
the
Yes.
best
Also.
yes pa. Also, what are the best practices to avoid biases and ensure committee members are
Mhm.
engaged all throughout the process?
Our objective, di ba? Yeah,
Yes.
correct. Correct. Tama yung tama. That's a very good question. What we do is the first, I use a sort of a rule of thumb, okay? Try to use this rule of thumb. The committee members should be low enough in the organization to be available because they'll have to meet regularly. Low enough to be available, but high enough to be credible. Okay? So, if a person seems to be biased, he should not be in the committee. However, generally speaking, if you're talking of a department head, I think most of us will agree the department heads are credible. But sometimes they're not available. So, but if you have a committee of 5 or 9 persons, that will be fine. And then during the orientation of the committee, we make sure that they understand what we're going to do, so that they'll not have a tendency to quote unquote fight for jobs or for the jobs under them. Okay, and because we have a rating plan, once we have the rating plan, the person cannot be biased. They has to follow the rating plan. Let me explain that. In the rating plan, aside from just a definition of the what do you call this, of the factor, it is subdivided into degrees. So you have the lowest degree and another degree and then the highest degree. So could be probably you'll have 3 or 4 degrees for every factor. Okay, so that will distinguish now, even on the same factor, that will distinguish now one job might get more points in one factor than the other factors. Okay, so depending on the type of job. Is
Okay.
that clear na? Yeah.
Opo. Ay, sir, may follow-up lang po. Related po
Sige.
dito. Should HR be part of the job evaluation committee from Melanie?
Definitely. Dapat silang nandyan because the reason is they have all the job descriptions, they have all the you'll have to use the job descriptions and they have to be updated, and so it's very important that HR will be there, but he's just a member of the committee. The 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 committee as a whole will only vote according to after the discussion. They cannot have a discussion forever like in Congress, no? So there comes a point where they have to decide. They have to make a decision. So majority will rule in that. And whatever happens in the job evaluation committee, after they submit their results to the president or to the CEO, okay, or maybe to the head of HR, maybe you have a senior vice president there for human resources, he could approve the rating plan. However, as the results come out, we will usually we say they have the veto power. So if the president says no, that's wrong. So we have to follow that. Okay, but you will know that it has been discussed and it's been worked out properly. Very good question, huh? Very good question.
Ano
Kasi
daw po?
talagang nangyayari dyan. But what happens is, the key there is during the orientation, what I would normally tell the committee members, okay, you're here today to rate the different jobs in the company because you have to come up with a hierarchy. Regardless of your department, what we're looking at is what would be the jobs in job grade 6 and what are the jobs in job grade 5 and so on and so forth. So the idea here is and then of course all the deliberations in the job evaluation committee is confidential. You're not allowed to bring up the discussions outside of this because it will destroy the credibility of the committee. I'll give you an example. If we did not give a rule like that, or we did not brief them, maybe some of them will not be aware and they will go out of the room and they will say, you know what, I was fighting for your position, but they overwhelmed me. There were more votes against your position, so you ended up in this particular job grade. We cannot do that. In fact, the job rating plan itself is confidential. Okay, nobody can question that except the boss. Meaning to say, before they even rate, the rating plan is already approved. No more changes. If there will be any changes, it will be on the changes in the job description. But just like a ruler, we don't change the number of inches and so on. Okay?
Okay, sir. Clarification lang daw po.
Sure.
HR as member, but not part of the voting. Tama po ba?
No, yes, part of the voting. Yes. Yes. They have
Kasama po sa
they can
HR.
also, yes. Because if you don't do that, how can they properly see? Because remember, HR knows what are the minimum requirements of the job, like how many years experience will be required. The other departments don't know what the other departments' minimum requirements are. HR takes care of the specification, the job specification. So if we're talking of education, that comes, HR is the one who's the expert there. They'll tell you, no, it has to be a college graduate. This cannot be done by a high school graduate. Okay? So we use the expertise of each one for that. And the reason the other departments are also there is because they can also explain things that the other departments don't know about the jobs in their department. For example, IT. You should have somebody from IT there because most of us don't understand what IT is doing. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so ganun na yun.
Thank you so
All
much,
right.
sir.
You're welcome.
Okay po.
Next. Anyone else?
Ano pa? Well said. Very well said, sir. Okay na.
Yes, we'll proceed. So Job Evaluation Committee, I mentioned earlier, is a group of 5 to 9 managers of the company representing the different departments, divisions, who will be responsible for rating the different jobs. Okay. And then the functions of the committee, very important. The functions are establishing and recommending the job rating plan. So you'll notice there's only one plan, one job rating plan, one measuring device for all the jobs in the company. Okay. Then the number 2 is during the meeting, during the job evaluation rating meeting, people can ask questions about the job, and among themselves they clarify what the job is all about on top of the job description. The basic document during the deliberation is the job description. So the job description has to be complete or clear. Doesn't have to be very long. It just has to be clear. The people will know what the job is all about. Meaning to say, what do they do? Okay, The important thing in the job description is ano ba talaga ang ginagawa niya. Right? Right. Next. Number 3, there will be some slight discussion of deliberation, meaning to say during the after rating, somebody says that should be this degree, the other one says no, and then they both more or less they explain their vote for that. And then finally that's agreed on, then they decide on what will be the rating. Okay? So everybody, all the jobs go through the same process, the same factors, same things. Okay, that's it. Next, so we're clear now. The committee, the job evaluation committee, what it's supposed to do. Okay. Also, another thing before I show that one, let me explain that the committee has to be, they have to be present at the very least on the first meeting. They cannot be coming in and out of the meeting. Meaning to say, let's say the first meeting where they develop the rating plan, somebody was not there, maybe one vice president or one department head was not there because he was busy or something. Once he doesn't attend the first meeting, I don't think we should have him or her attend the subsequent meetings, because the key to the success of the job evaluation is everybody's on the same page. If he doesn't attend the first meeting, he will be coming from the cold. He did not know what happened, why they said this, why they said that, and so on and so forth. So that's my suggestion. Okay, so assuming that you go through the process, maybe you rate 100 jobs or 50 jobs, as the case may be. In my own experience, I have rated something like, there were some companies that had only 30 jobs, some of them 50 jobs, some of them 200 jobs. Okay, we're talking of jobs, not incumbents. So usually if you have 200 jobs, you probably have a workforce of about 2,000 employees. Okay, so after this is done, I have to use my glasses because this is quite small from here. This is just a sample. So the process is, we have a job description. Oh, by the way, it's very important that you update the job description. But before you update the job description, I suggest that you conduct a job description workshop. Okay. In all my engagements, when I engage a company, the first thing I do is schedule a job description workshop. This will be composed of the supervisors, because the supervisors are supposed to know the jobs under him or her. So they are the ones. And then, of course, if the managers want to attend, fine, they can attend also the workshop. So that you will be talking about the same thing, and then you can tell them what are the verbs to use and what verbs not to use. I'll give you an example. One verb that is not acceptable is the word manages as a verb. You have to indicate what you do to manage, or what do you do in that case. So that's just an example. And then after the job description is done, this has to be approved by the department head before it is submitted to the job evaluation committee for evaluation. Okay. After the job evaluation committee rates all the jobs, they have to come up with a job classification table. You will notice that we have the first column is job grade, and then the next columns would indicate the departments. Now you would have maybe in job grade, in the department 1, you might have 2 positions, 2 jobs under job grade 6, and in department number 2 maybe only 1 or maybe 3, and so on. So at one glance, the job classification table will show you the level of each job based on the rating. Okay, questions before we proceed to the next step?
Yes, Sir Rafi. From Rosan Johnson,
Yes.
the job descriptions are not updated. Should we first do a job analysis?
Very good. If your company has been in operation for some time and your job descriptions have been prepared already, meaning say you're not a startup company, you will only use a job analysis tool if you are going to do a if you're maybe if you have a reorganization or if you have a new company that you're setting up. Okay. But generally, if you are an ongoing company and you just want to make sure that the classifications are correct, I mean, say you want to review the classifications, there's no need for job analysis because the job description will be, and if you have a job rating plan, will be sufficient. The job description will be sufficient to make you to be able to rate the particular job and straighten it out.
Thank you po, Sir Rafi.
Okay.
That will be all po.
Okay, great. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so that's part one. With the job evaluation, you saw the final results, which refer to the job classification table. Now we talk about the salary structure design. Okay. Uh, before we do a salary structure design, you have several options. One is to conduct or to participate in a salary survey, or maybe purchase a salary survey. Okay. So the depending on company philosophy or direction, the structure is based on the survey average, median, or higher survey results. That's very technical already. That is in the development of the salary structure, we look at the results of the survey. And the survey is not that simple to compare because you have to, I don't know if anyone here has conducted a salary survey. If you have, you will notice that you cannot just compare an accountant in your company and an accountant in another company because you will not get the same results. Okay, so remember what we're doing is we're doing a salary structure that will you're developing for your company. So that's an internal structure. Okay, but you want to know what other people are paying for similar jobs. So the salary survey will tell you that. They will tell you that similar jobs of this kind of, let's say this kind of a job pays this much salary. And each company that participates in the survey would also have their own figures. So you just have to take the survey average. And let's go now to the step-by-step, the step-by-step thing. So if you end up with 6 job grades, that means you will have to have 6 salary ranges. Now, a salary range represents the pay for a particular job that is classified in that range. So, and so if you have 6 job grades, you have 6 salary ranges. If you have 6 salary ranges, that means that's one salary structure. Okay. So as I said here, the salary structure is composed of several salary ranges. Now, a salary range, the one that I usually recommend or the one I usually use, I don't use the step ranges that some people have. They have job grade 1, step 1, job grade 2, step 2, job grade 3, step 3, or something, job grade 1, step 3, and so on and so forth. What I would normally do is we would have a minimum rate, or for that matter, that should be called the hiring rate. So the minimum rate for a certain job is the hiring rate. There's a midpoint rate and a maximum rate. So maybe your next question would be, why does the salary range have to have a maximum rate? Well, I guess I'll have to explain that later. In the meantime, uh, when you have already a salary range, that means the salary range for, or rather the minimum rate for job grade 1, because we are covered by a minimum wage, right? So the minimum rate for job grade 1 should be the minimum wage law or higher. So it can be lower than the minimum wage. That's for job grade 1. Okay? And so on and so forth. You go move up. When you move up, it's a little bit hard to explain in this forum because it's just an overview. It will be a little bit difficult how we determine the next minimum rate for job grade 2, job grade 3, job grade 4, and so on. That one we will have to explain very, very, very well. Now, because it has to be related to the market survey. No? All right. So I want to answer my own question. Why should we have a maximum rate? The salary range represents the value, represents the amount of pay or salary that the company, your company, is willing to pay for all those jobs in job grade 1. For job grade 2, they have also another set of salary ranges, right? One other range. This is for job grade 2, and so on. So you will notice that job grade 6 will have a higher salary range than job grade 1. Okay. Now, the maximum rate, because what we will do is the minimum rate, you multiply that now by, let's say I don't know what's the minimum wage. Anybody can tell me what's the minimum wage now, please?
537.
You give me a monthly rate, any monthly rate for that. Is that 15,000?
No, 14,006.75.
You're allowed to round it off. For the salary rate, you can make 15,000. So let's assume it's 15,000. So if that's the hiring rate or the minimum rate, you multiply that by 1.5, and you'll come up with 22.5, I think. Okay, so that salary range is from 15,000 to 22,500. The next thing happens also for the next level. The next level starts off at, let's say, 17,000. So 17,000 times 1.5 to come up with the range. Okay? Now, the question is, can you hire somebody in job grade 2 that is higher than the minimum rate for job grade 2? And the answer is no. You will have to hire them at the hiring rate. All the jobs starting after when this is approved, once the salary structure is approved, there are rules to be indicated. There will be no flexibility in that sense. It will be based on the hiring rate. Okay? Now, the next question is, how do you move up from when you were hired? How do you move up? Well, that's where performance appraisal comes in. You have a performance rating, and hopefully you have a policy that gives performance increases, usually percentage of the salary of the person. Okay? Is that fair? I think so. Because that will be reward for good performance. All right. So with that, I think that covers. I think I have the next slide will be a sample. Okay, what's this? Okay, that's the sample. Okay, never mind the first design because that already is taken up. Okay, this is a sample. I don't know if we can increase the size a little. Sonny, is it possible? Ay, hindi. Sa kabila. Ang view lang naman siguro. That's already biggest. Pwede pa yan. Oh, sige, anyway. so that everybody can see that in this particular sample, we have a job grade 1 to 7. The difference also is we're using annual rates. So an annual rate, to determine the annual rate, will be monthly times 12 plus bonuses. If we have fixed bonuses, that's added on there. So these are annual rates. And in this example, don't mind anymore the salary survey average because we cannot explain that at this point. No? So you will notice that this is what's going to happen. This column on in percent interval represents the percentage difference between, as you go up higher from, let's say, hiring rate 138,000, is that right? And then if you add 25%, that brings it up to 172,500. So it's the upward percentage. The rule here is this: whatever your starting point in terms of job grade 2, let's say your starting point was 15%. The next higher job cannot be lower than 15%. It has to be the same percentage of the lower job or higher percentage. Okay. All right. Having done that, I am open for more questions on the salary structure.
Okay po, Sir Rafi. May nagtanong po ulit si Sir Robert. Ay, Sir John Robert, sorry.
Yes, please.
Question again from a micro business na may 9 to 10 employees po.
Okay.
Yung salary range po ba per job grade ay dapat 3 points lang po ba minimum or depende po sa management?
Yeah, lahat yan depende sa management at saka depende rin sa budget ng management. That means not all companies have the same budgetary meaning to say how much they have to give. The only thing that is common to everybody is the minimum wage.
Okay po, Sir Rafi.
Mm-hmm.
And then
But
another
then, go ahead.
Thank you po. Another question from Miss Melanie Servo. What is the best practice on salary structure? Should you have one per job family?
Okay. Very good question also. In the past, we used to have separate jobs for production. I mean, separate salary structure for production, separate salary structure for marketing or sales, and separate structure for admin. I think that's the question that they have. But we found out that as we are using the same factors for all the jobs, it is in fact preferred that you use the same rating plan and the same salary structure for all the jobs. My recommendation is all the jobs from supervisor down to the lowest rank and file. I don't recommend that the salary structure will include the managers. That one will have to have a separate salary structure.
Thank you po, Sir Rafi. So another question po from the same person, from Miss Melanie. What's the rule on percentage interval per job grade?
All right. The only rule is that whatever the percentage interval that you start off from job grade 1 to job grade 2 should be the same as you go up higher or higher than that. So you could go, let's say, 15, 15, 20%, then 20%, and 20, 25%. Or you can have 10, 15, 20, and so on and so forth. Or you can have 10, 10, 10, and then 20, 20, 20, something like that. So that is the idea is to be able to catch up with, look at your salary survey column. Your salary survey column, as you propose your salary structure, should be, your midpoint rate should be about the same as the salary survey. Because the salary survey is what you call the market rate for your job grades. That's the theoretical market rate. So your salary structure should should have the market rate at the midpoint rate of the salary structure. Now, in other companies that are very competitive with other companies, what they do is they don't follow the market rate. What they do is they go up. If the market they go maybe 10 or 15% higher than the market, so that their midpoint rate is above the market.
Okay po,
Any
sir.
more questions, please?
Is it the same question po na standard formula to multiply the hiring rate would be 1.5%? So, yun din.
Yung fixed that is a suggested they call that salary range spread, no? The percentage between minimum to maximum, and that's 50%. And then you can use, if you use 50%, then you have to use 50% all the way up to job grade 7. But if you want to use 60%, that's still all right. 50 to 60% will be okay, right? So you can use if you use 60% at the beginning at job grade 1, then it will also be 60% in job grade 7.
Thank you po, Sir Rafi.
Welcome.
And another question po from Sir Dexter. Magiging basis po ba ng minimum rate sa yung average market value or dapat po yung value ng market is the midpoint? Or depende po sa salary philosophy ng company?
Okay. Actually, mabuti you asked me. When we look at let's look at the salary structure. The salary structure, or rather the salary range. People begin, of course, at the hiring rate, but they have to move up. They have to move up through performance rating. So let's assume that this particular salary structure is good for 2 years. That's generally before you review your salary structure, usually 2 years then. Okay. So remember that those people who are earning below the midpoint rate, assuming that your midpoint rate is exactly the market rate. Okay, the people in the first half, you see my point. First half is from minimum to midpoint rate. The people in the first half are mostly new. Then people who have been with the company for some time are already above the midpoint rate, and maybe between midpoint rate and maximum rate. Okay, so you can imagine when it comes to talent acquisition, I'm sorry, talent retention. All those persons who are receiving below the midpoint rate at that time, mostly new people, they are susceptible to being pirated. However, because they're receiving less than the market average. However, the people who are above the midpoint rate, then they are less susceptible to moving up. It's a theory. It's a theory of how to administer compensation. Now, when the question that probably will be asked by somebody, why is my salary different from the other person? Well, if you are in the company for some time, you probably have a higher salary in the same job than another person. Okay? So, as long as you are within the range, the idea is to have everybody within the salary range, within the minimum and the maximum. Okay?
Okay po, sir.
More questions?
Meron pa po.
Sige, go ahead.
From Rosan Johnson, okay lang po ba na different yung horizontal spread for each level or job grade? Job level or job grade?
Oh, hindi maganda lalabas yun because magkakaroon ka ng situation where yung maximum ng lower job grade is greater than the maximum of of the higher job grade. So it cannot be. It has to be gradually moving up. So the job grade 1 maximum is lower than the job grade 2 maximum. The job grade 3 maximum is lower than the higher than the job 2 maximum, and so on. So the highest maximum will be the job grade 7. And you will notice that that's because you use a percentage that is the same or higher. So it always will be higher than the previous one. But there will be overlapping. Take note. For instance, in job grade 1, your maximum is 607. I'm sorry, 207, and your midpoint is your midpoint. No, sorry, your starting rate with the other with the job grade 2 is 172. So there's already an overlap between 172 and 207. One is the guy 172 is on a higher job grade. So that's normal. That's normal. The overlap is normal. Okay?
Okay po, napansin din po namin
Okay yung
yun.
mga question, ha? Okay yung mga question niyo. Very good. Very good. I like it.
Meron pa, sir.
Yeah,
From Miss
go
Mel,
on. Shoot.
what's the standard number of job grade levels or spread? Example, 5 to
Oh,
8,
wala.
the
Walang,
managers. Opo.
let's talk of supervisors down. Walang standard. Pero generally, when you talk of what I've seen, okay, generally we would have between three to 5 job grades. I'm sorry, sometimes 3 to 5 job grades for rank and file, and 2 to 3 job grades for supervisors. And within that supervisory classification, andun yung professionals. The professionals are also included in the supervisory job grades. So if that professional has a higher job, it would be in job grade 7, and the other professional would be under job grade 6.
Okay po, Sir Rafi. Thank you po. So, another
Welcome.
question po ulit.
Go ahead.
Harry Victorino, are there any free salary survey or salary data available?
Okay. Very good question again.
Ano,
If you don't want to spend for a salary survey, you can ask approval from your company to conduct a salary survey. Okay. If your company says go ahead, then that particular person who will conduct the salary survey should probably get to find out how it is done.
so, are two job site salary data reliable?
Yes, especially if you conduct it yourself. If you conduct your salary survey yourself, it's reliable. Now, there are, of course, a lot of companies that offer this, and they're also very reliable. I'll give you an example. I think some of you know is that, Sunny, is that Towers Watson? Yeah, so there are companies that do regular.
Yes,
Okay.
it covers Watson.
Yeah, another company that I can recommend is the Employers Confederation of the Philippines. I'm a speaker
Yes,
there.
ECOF, meron
ECOF.
po sila.
Sa ECOF po, I give them seminars on salary administration. They have that available regularly. Meron silang survey. The key in a salary survey is being able to determine benchmark jobs. Okay. And the question probably in your mind, who determines benchmark jobs? Well, the one conducting the salary survey is the one determining the benchmark jobs. Now, the participating company will look at the description of the benchmark job and see if they have a similar job, even if it has a different title. They have a similar job, then that's a match. So they have to match that.
Okay po, Sir Rafi. Thank you po for that.
Alright, okay na tayo na.